Welcome to our September 17th City Council meeting. I now call this meeting to order. I trust that your cell phones have all been placed on silent. Well, in absence of Councilman Hester, I'll just ask if everyone would stand and we'll pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we do have a special presentation this afternoon, but I would like to recognize one of our judges that are here with us today, Mr. Mike Dimitri. Thank you for being with us. We do have a special presentation honoring Constitution Day by our local historian, our city historian, Linda Moss Mines, and I think she has a few helpers with her today as well.
I do, and thank you all very much for allowing me to be here today. As you're probably aware, today is Constitution Day, and it's appropriate that we pause and reflect on the significance of that day. But since we're talking about the survival of the Republic, not just the founding of the Republic, I decided it might be more appropriate for some younger citizens to speak to you instead of your historian. Noah Dimitri, who is president of the Colonel Jonathan Return Meigs Society, Children of the American Revolution, and Rory Dimitri, who is the American History chairperson for the Tennessee Society, and my grandchildren are here to share a little bit with you about Constitution Day. I think we all believe in that adage of train up a child. Noah and Rory.
Welcome.
Thank you. Today is Constitution Day, a day of remembrance set aside by U.S. Congress for citizens of the United States to think about our Constitution, the oldest Constitution in effect of our global community and the longest continuously governing document in the history of the world. It is appropriate for us to meet in the council room, a perfect example of the idea of growing government based on the voices of people who elected their representatives to speak for them, to guard those sacred ideas of liberty, equality, and justice.
What makes our Constitution and government unique? A belief in a balance of power between the national, state, and local governments. A rule of law. A division of power between three branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. The protected rights of the people combined with their responsibilities to be informed citizens.
The United States remains the inspiration for people around the world who do not live in free societies. We are that city on the hill whose light shines for liberty, not perfect, but working for each day to live up to the dream. The Republic will remain strong as long as we are committed to those principles, our Constitution, our representative democracy.
Our Constitution is the symbol, the foundation of our freedom, and we have copies of that document here for everyone here. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. We may not be able to vote yet, but we are proud to be citizens of the United States and to live in Chattanooga. Thank you for working to preserve the dream.
I think you have some copies of the Constitution to pass out. Yeah, you can give some to Councilwoman. Just give them to Councilwoman Coonrod, and she can pass them around. Thank you. Oh, she's coming in. Okay, my bad.
Thank you. You want to set those on the table? There are plenty for the public for the open meeting.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, you want to get that? All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate y'all coming in and making that presentation this afternoon. Thank you.
Maybe.
Councilman Smith.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you for indulging me, sir. Noah, Rory, thank you for coming down here. Over the years, we've seen many people come to that mic with many more years under their belt than the two of you and struggle to be able to speak. It is an intimidating environment often at times, and the two of you did incredibly well. You should be very proud, as are those two individuals that are flanking you, I would expect. The fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree when you look over at who is helping to educate you, and it shows. So thank you both very much for being here. I really did appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, could I get approval of the minutes? All right, with no objections, the minutes will stand as recorded. Council, looking at your agenda for this week, we have a couple of items under final readings. Anything under final readings that need to be brought to the council's attention at this time? All right, we have no ordinances under first reading. Under resolutions, we have several items that we'll be looking at this afternoon and a couple of confirmations later this afternoon. Looking forward to. Any questions or comments under any of our resolutions that will be voted on tonight? All right, seeing no lights, looking at next week's proposed agenda. Anything that needs to be brought to the council's attention under first reading, and we will be addressing the ordinance of lowering the age for the fire department during our public safety committee meeting this afternoon. So any questions on that we'll save for our committee. Moving into resolutions, most of these are appointments, then a few under public works and parks. Any questions under next week's proposed agenda at this time? Councilman Ledford.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Is Karen with us? There, Karen, item Q under planning for next week, the resolution of the grace period transitioning to the new zoning ordinance. A question has come into me. Will this include the ability or affect our PUD?
So with the idea that you could use the old PUD.
Right, during the 6-month
I think the
period.
intention is that, yes, you could use the old PUD, but we could provide a suggested language to the city attorney's office to add a language to the resolution to be clear about that.
Okay, so we're helping to address these as they come in. We knew we would come through while we're in the doldrums, so to speak, now, but we did know that we would come into some complexities with certain projects probably on the horizon, and we're working through those regarding that, correct? On the application end?
Yes, the intention was to give people a little bit more time. We had been focused on zoning and not so much on the PUDs, but yes, we can do that, and we would need to make sure with mapping that we're very clear, because we are proposing some changes to PUDs as part of the mapping.
Okay.
But yes, we would I don't see why we would not want to include PUDs as part of that.
Okay, thank you.
So to be clear, we are going to include the PUDs in this.
We can include PUDs right now. The language says rezonings, that you could choose your rezoning. It doesn't say taking advantage of your special exception permit for your residential PUD, but we can offer language to amend the resolution to be clear about that.
Let's do that. Let's
Okay,
make sure it's clear about PUDs.
I will, we'll send some language along.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Karen.
The definition for planned unit developments is only found in the zoning ordinance, though, so it does become part of our zoning in here, but yes, we can include that additional language.
And I think we would also like to be clear, if I can, we had a couple questions about, to be clear, about building permits and land disturbance permits. It does say building permits once, if not twice, but with the same language, just to help with enforcement, provide additional clarity, I think we would say that does not include land disturbance permits. And that is not being the intention. We said very specifically building permits, but we would offer that as some language too, to be very clear that that's not the trigger.
Very good. Can you obviously work with city attorney's office?
Sure.
Get that language change in the caption. We're ahead of our schedule for state law, so I think we're okay.
We will, and we'll confirm with LDO that we have all that correct.
Very good. Chairman, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anything else that needs to come before us for next week's proposed agenda? If not, council, if you'll look over your purchasing items this afternoon, let me know if you have any questions concerning any of your purchase items for consideration. If not, looking ahead to your future considerations, anything on future considerations that you'd like to bring to the council's attention at this time? Okay. We do have two committees this afternoon. We do have Parks and Public Works, which in the absence of Councilman Hester, I will be chairing. And then we'll have our Public Safety Committee meeting where Councilwoman Dotley will take up the ordinance to amend the age of our fire department applicants. All right, if there's nothing else that needs to be brought before the council during our regular agenda session, we'll move now into Parks and Public Works Committee. Could I have approval of the minutes from our last meeting? All right, without objections, the minutes will stand as recorded. We do have a couple of items under final reading, which I think there were no questions about. Moving into resolutions, Madam Clerk, would you read into the record 9B, please?
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to authorize change order number 1 to J. Reed Constructors, Inc. of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, for the fire training tower construction contract number F2305201 to provide propane supply, equipment, and other minor items in the amount of $84,852.57, with a new contingency in the amount of $10,000, for a total amount of $1,469,852.57.
All right, seeing no questions, we'll move into next week, September the 24th, under resolutions. 9N, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to enter in an agreement with Orange Grove Center, Inc. under the Green Grant Program for design and installation of water quality retrofit project for an amount not to exceed $100,000.
Councilman Ledford.
Mr. Chairman, my light is for item O coming up, please.
Oh, coming up, okay. Thank you. Leave you. 9O, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to renew on-call blanket contract number E22002-201, demolition services for the Public Works Land Development Office Code Enforcement Division for year 3 of 3 to Tower Construction LLC of Chattanooga, Tennessee, restricted for use only by the Public Works Land Development Office Code Enforcement Division for the annual amount of $65,000.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So year after year, I try to keep the cost of each demolition. When I first arrived here, it was around $13,000. Has it now escalated, Jay?
It has, yes, sir.
And with the rate of inflation and the world, where do we think we are today?
Bill, do you have a better guesstimation on that?
I know that when you say $13,000, you're talking like an average?
That's correct.
Okay, yes. I know from information that I've seen on requisitions, some of those numbers are closer to the $20,000 range in some cases. Some are less, some are more.
Sure.
But that's typically what's happening.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just trying to keep track of that. Thank you, Chairman. That's all I needed.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
9P, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to execute the consent to agreement of all purchase orders for vendor number 865550, Reagan Smith Associates, Inc., to Reagan Smith Associates, LLC, relative to all new agreements and all new work authorizations on existing agreements.
Not seeing any lights. Anything else that needs to be brought to the attention of the council under Parks and Public Works? We do have a brief presentation this afternoon on the Walnut Street Bridge restoration. Chief, who's going to be presenting that to us?
So I'm going to introduce it, and Bill Payne will be speaking on the actual slides themselves.
All right.
So, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, members of council, everybody in attendance, As everybody knows, the Public Works Department has been working on the Walnut Street Bridge for quite some time now. As we move closer, we're at the point now so that we're looking for the notification of approval for the bidders. And we want to show everybody what the plan is moving forward so that everybody has a good understanding of what the bridge will be after the renovations are done. Bill?
Thank you, Jay. We appreciate the opportunity to present this information to the council. I know there have been many different capital budgets where this has come up, where over time we've had to put some dollars into it. So we wanted to go through as a reminder, both for what the overall scope is for this renovation project, as well as talk to you as well and let you know about things that we're doing in terms of detours, communications, and other information that you'll be seeing. So today we're going to talk about the scope of work, the detours that will be available and will be posted for people to utilize, and those communication plans that we have started and will continue throughout the project. We know that local small businesses are an important aspect of this area because of the fact that the bridge is used by a lot of folks. Be sure and give you an idea of both the schedule and the costs. So this slide, you can see some of these pictures. There's some very obvious and very long-standing disrepair on the bridge. We will be doing repairs to some structural steel. We will be doing sandblasting and painting of the bridge itself, and that'll be complete over all of the metal areas, as well as new timber decking, and that is both some subsurface decking as well as the walking surface itself. And then we'll also be doing some new lighting, event panels, and security cameras as well. I've got a separate slide on the lighting as well. This picture is a good representation. You can see in this a lot of those dark areas that are on the wood. Those are the soft areas where the wood is starting to hold a lot of water. That's where a lot of the decay of the current wood is occurring. You can also see those white and light, and even in some cases, some rust starting to show through on some of the paint. So this is an overview from the top. So some of these pictures, both on the previous slide and on this one, they are, I would not tell you these are current pictures. I would tell you these pictures actually have some age on them. And so if we were to go out and look at some of these same places today, we do anticipate that the situation has not gotten any better. So it's very necessary work that needs to be done in order to be able to keep the bridge open. When we talk about electrical improvements, this is one area that we wanted to be sure and highlight. Of course, you can see in the top left some of that disrepair that currently exists on the bridge, but there will be all new electrical access panels at multiple locations throughout the bridge because the Parks and Outdoors Department does essentially allow this to be reserved. It can be set up for special events, as everyone is aware. So there will be some upgraded special event support that will be capable of, which the current setup and the current electrical system is just not able to do. We will be converting all of the lighting over to an LED style lighting. I know that causes some folks concern because they think about, harsh sort of bright lighting that can occur with LED lighting, but wanted to make sure, visually, and what you see on the right is a rendering of what the bridge will look like afterwards. So this is going to be color matched in a way so that it still has the same visual appeal. So we're not talking about going to any sort of different type of lighting in that case. We are able to take advantage of installing a separate light or a separate meter for the lighting, which will actually allow us to get the lighting costs at a reduced cost from EPB, so we won't be paying for this on the traditional meter. But these new lights will have the benefit of reduced light pollution, improved visibility on all the walking surfaces, and there will also be integrated security cameras that will be installed as part of this work. So we talk about detours. The diagram on the left represents sort of the official, everyone's used to seeing, these orange signs that say detour, the road will be closed. So the shortest distance from the south or the north end of the bridge to the opposite side would be along East Aquarium Way up to along the Market Street Bridge and along Fraser Avenue. That's the shortest distance. We also know it's not always the best option. So what you see on the right is a combination, which includes both Market Street Bridge, as well as some additional work that's going to occur this fall before anything begins on Walnut Street Bridge itself for a connection, an improved connection along Riverfront Parkway, along the Veterans Bridge, and up to Fraser Avenue from the east side. That's going to be a combination of both bicycles and pedestrians. So it will allow for some better passageway because we know that routing along Walnut Street Bridge gets a lot of use both from residents as well as tourists and other people who are utilizing that section. So the Fraser Avenue improvements that are slated to be done this fall, along with the work on the Veterans Bridge, will all be done simultaneously, and that's all is expected to occur and be in place prior to the start of any work or any closure on the bridge itself. We'll talk about that schedule in just a moment, but we will make sure and maintain these detours throughout the duration of the project. So when we talk about communicating this information out, we began having conversations in particular with the merchants in the area along Fraser Avenue and in that North Shore area. What you see on the right is a map of the North Shore businesses. This is from their website, right? So those orange and red lines represent the three bridges, Market Street Market Street, Walnut, and Veterans, coming across just to sort of give some reference to that side. But we know that communications is going to be critical throughout this project. That's why we started in October of last year, beginning to have those conversations. Our target audience is not just the merchants, but it's also the people who live in the area. It's key stakeholders that either have events or support the area, as well as the general public. We will be holding monthly project updates. Those will be open to the public. So it will not just be for merchants or for others, but there'll actually be an opportunity where people who just have an interest will be able to come. And so we anticipate holding those. There will be a project website that will host information. A lot of information is going to get pushed out by social media as well as text messaging. And our public relations contract for this will also include a corresponding app as well as some other support that the local businesses, if they want to offer specials, if they want to offer discounts or other things in order to help drive business to help come to them, then that is something that will be available to them. And then it will also be something, if they choose to keep that in the future, they'll be able to operate it on their own. So it would be something that could be handed over from our consultant at the end of this project. But it's something that because we know that it's important for them to be able to maintain their viability through that. In conjunction with this, there have been some conversations that the Department of Economic Development here at the city is already working on developing a small business mitigation program. So those details are not part of what we're asking you all to vote on today, but those will come along separately and can be pushed out and revealed as they're finalized and developed. But I just wanted to make sure that you all are aware that we are conscious of that, and it is something that's expected. There are also some special events that people have gotten that rely on the bridge for connection. And so you can see them listed here. I won't read through each one of them, but those will be times when we've already told the contractor, you need to stop your work. You need to turn the bridge itself over from curb to curb in order to, on the Thursday before these events, so that the event organizers can set up and run marathons or other events that need to cross the bridge. And so these are ones that we have already just included in that. So the contractor is required to phase their work around these. Our current schedule is that the construction award would come to City Council on Tuesday, October 1st. At the end of October, we would have a pre-construction meeting and issue a limited notice to proceed, which will allow our contractor to begin assembling materials and other things separately and handling shop drawings and pre-procurement items and things like that. And then starting the closure work would happen in March in conjunction with when spring construction season, particularly the painting season, would pick up. The final completion would be in mid-September of 2026. This would actually, it's 18 months of total time that there would be some impact, but we know that about 7 months of that in 2025 is actual painting season that could happen based on temperatures. There'll be some time in the winter where there might be some work that happens, but might not be as much activity, and then be able to pick up again with the painting season in 2026 in order to be able to wrap up and get completed. And then final slide here, just to highlight, because we know that this has come before you all in multiple capital budgets, but to put it all together in a summary for you, the identified funding for this is $18.9 million of federal funds, $16.1 million of hotel motel tax, and $300,000 of economic development funds. Totals to $35.3 million. And then the resolutions that will be coming before City Council on October 1st will be two items. One is a change order to our engineering contract with Volkert, which would add construction administration. There were some additional NEPA requirements that were necessary to get it to this point, as well as the public relations and outreach that I explained earlier. So that's $307,000 for that change order. And then the large contract to Southern Road and Bridge, who is the low bidder, is right at $35 million. So this has been through, because of the federal funds, this does go through TDOT and the local programs project. So all of this has been both reviewed by our engineers as well as concurred by TDOT. And with that, I will answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Bill, will this new security cameras be tied to RTIC?
Yes, sir, they will.
And will there be any panic button functions located anywhere along the bridge?
I do not know the answer to that question, but we'll be glad to get it for you.
Thank you. I'd love to know that. Second question is, regarding the lighting, talking about LED, obviously we have Kelvin temperatures, cool, warm. Are we taking into consideration, I know we're not under a dark skies plan, but has any of that come into play in the lighting design?
Yes, sir, it has. This plan does make sure that all of the lighting is directed downwards towards the walking surface itself. So it's been specifically set up so that there's not any, while there may be some lighting that is intentionally cast into some of the superstructure, both for visibility and for aesthetics, it is directed in such a way that it only illuminates those surfaces and doesn't just blindly cast out. And at the same time, along the edges, there's not light that gets cast out over the water. So it is directed to the surface itself. So we have included that as part of the design elements.
Okay. Last question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. When we're handing off the bridge back to a special event, that is going to require, I'm assuming, some serious planning. For safety reasons.
Yes.
And the contractors, I don't want to, not here, not now, but I'd love to talk with you offline about that conversation. It just,
Sure.
That is going to be amazing to think about handing in the middle of a construction project. And the logistics behind that are just fascinating. So I'll reach out to you.
Certainly.
All right.
We'll be glad to have that conversation.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Hill.
Thank you. My district is intimately involved with the Walnut Street Bridge. It is a heartbeat within our community, and I appreciate the work, Bill, that you and other public works folks have done to communicate with stakeholder groups on the North Shore. I have spread the information and will continue to spread the information with community groups, neighborhood associations, et cetera. You mentioned that there would be a website. I'd just like to go ahead and get that on the record for everybody. It's a really easy one. It's walnutstreetbridge.org. You can go to that website and sign up for regular updates. That's where things like these detours will be posted, where you might be able to get text messages about some of the economic development opportunities like the coupons or the app and things. So it's going to be a way for people to really stay involved with what's happening, how much longer is the work going to take, and when can we expect to get to enjoy our bridge again. So I appreciate the photos that you've shared because it really shows folks who haven't been on the bridge in a while just how important it is that we invest this money now to preserve this really important historic part of our community. So thank you very much.
Certainly. If I may, the website is walnutstreetbridge.com.
.com.
Instead of .org.
It's
So
.net, it's .com.
Yeah. Yes. So just
WalnutStreetBridge.com.
.com.
Thank you, Bill.
Certainly. And I appreciate the kind words about the communications effort. I have to give all the kudos to my project team. Eric Booker's our project manager, and he and others that have been working on the team as well. So I appreciate that. We'll certainly pass that along.
And can you all send a digital version of this slide presentation to our clerk?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, you must have answered all the questions.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, sir. All right, at this time, I will turn the chair over to Councilwoman Dotley for our Public Safety Committee.
All righty. Hello. We are in I call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting. Could I have an approval on the minutes? All right, thank y'all so much. Minutes stand without objection. We do have an ordinance on today. Madam Clerk, would you please read that ordinance under Fire A?
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 16, Section 16-2, relating to the age of fire department applicants.
All right, thank you so much. And we have Chief Hyman up here to give us a presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all again for taking this one on. It feels like I was just up here the other day.
You were up here the other day.
The whole age 18 thing is not a new conversation. Councilwoman Coonrod and I have had this conversation for quite some time, but I just want to give you a little bit of context around the why behind why we want to go to 18. And it does, when we have competition for our positions that we have, it really breeds excellence in all that. And what we found over time is we have a lot of good individuals and good applicants that apply, and opening up that next 3 years really helps open our applicant pool up that much more. As you know, a lot of our departments, the applicant pool has definitely gotten smaller over the years, and we're kind of fortunate that ours hasn't. Ours has been definitely dramatically decreased than it has been when I got hired. I know there were hundreds and hundreds of applicants when I got hired, and that's just not the case anymore. So it's really forced us to recruit more. It's really forced us to be intentional about who we hire and give those individuals opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have had in the past. So that 18 to 20-year-old, they might lack work experience, but I think the 18 to 20-year-olds that we have today are phenomenally different from the 18 and 20-year-olds that we had 25 years ago. So we're really kind of interested to tap into this next demographic. And those individuals are going to be competing with the 21 to 39-year-old. So we open up an applicant pool from 18 to 39 that we can hire. And I think that's a really good marker for our community and how many applicants we can actually get. And when we hire, we want the best applicants. So we're not lowering standards to hire 18-year-olds. That's not what this is. The same standards will hold true for the 18-year-old all the way up to the 39-year-old. So I just want to bring that little point up. We're also seeking those individuals that are looking for that vocational career. We have a lot of emphasis in our community right now around those vocational careers, and this is an excellent opportunity to capture some of those individuals that will make good firefighters in that arena. This is part of our recruitment strategy. What we found out when Captain Benson goes to a lot of these high schools and recruits, what we're telling these 18-year-olds and kids that are just about ready to graduate is that we would love to hire you, but you got to wait 3 years. Well, what happens in those 3 years is those individuals find other vocational opportunities, they go to school, and we lose that opportunity. And it is rare to find one that's going to wait around 3 years to get hired on at the fire department. So I think it's important that we do that. I think that's a really good point there. And back to the vocational careers, we've been talking to the Future Ready program quite a bit on how we can insert ourselves in that Future Ready program to really challenge those individuals and give those individuals opportunities to make them better candidates to hire. So we're just really serving in that way. The adaptation of our hiring climate, like I mentioned, the hiring climate is completely different. I mentioned just a minute ago, the 18 to 20 to 39-year-old population is way different today than it was back then, or back in 20-something plus years ago. And I always hate doing something because we've always done it that way. So I think looking for this 18-year-old is just another way that we can find opportunity to hire. And if we're not adaptable, it really puts us in the back seat. If we're missing out on an opportunity and a demographic that we've never tapped into before, we're not adapting to what the society's given us at the moment. And I think that adaptability makes us more competitive and gives us better applicants. So that's one of our top priorities. And then I know there were some concern about 18-year-olds coming to the fire department and something about the maturity level. And I think with good coaching, mentoring, and education, I think that maturity level, even if they come in with an immature attitude or not a lot of work experience or not a lot of life experience, coaching and mentoring is the only way to get them to a point where they can serve well and be a good model citizen for our department. And I really think that that's where the crux is here. I'm 100% confident that our training staff and the firefighters that help train our new firefighters in every academy that we do will take an 18-year-old and treat them the same way that they treat that 39-year-old. You know, if they're having issues or they're having trouble adapting, they're going to coach and mentor and love on them and get them to that point. And I'm very, very confident that we can train a lot of that immaturity out. But again, they're also competing for a position. So they're going to have to know that it's, and what we're not trying to do is have an academy full of 18-year-olds. That's just not the case. The academy, we're going to blend of folks in there with various life experiences to kind of meld with each other and understand what their role is. But regardless of the experience, I think the leadership and our training staff and our firefighters will get us to that point. And then lastly, this is just kind of a bullet point. State law already allows that firefighters can be firefighters at age 18. So we're just kind of following suit with what the state law has been for quite some time. And then lastly, here are a number of departments throughout our region that hire at 18. So honestly, we're kind of a little behind the curve. We should have probably been tackling this problem quite some time ago to make sure that our applicant pool stayed up. So another reason, I mean, even you've got some big cities in there, Memphis Fire Department, New York Fire Department, Chicago Fire Department, Boston Fire, the large fire departments that hire at that age. Do they run into issues with 18-year-olds? Sure they do. But they also coach and mentor and train those individuals to make them good model firefighters. I know a lot of our firefighters that have come from other departments that have come into our department have really brought a lot of value and had a lot of success. And they typically start in a lot of those other departments at age 18. And the burden or the hurdle that they have to overcome is waiting to get on a career department, wait until 21. So I think we're really tapping into a demographic that we haven't tapped into before. And then lastly, pension impacts. And I'm going to bring Katrina up and let her kind of talk a little bit about the pension impacts, and then I'll answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you, Chief Hyman. Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a little bit of concern with changing the hiring age to 18 and how that affects the pension. We had our actuary do a study, and had they implemented the lowered hiring age to 18 with the January 1st, 2024 valuation, it would have only increased the ADC, which is the required contribution from the city to the pension plan, by $704 on about a $26 million contribution. So it is a very immaterial impact by lowering the hiring age. I have had people ask me, they think that an 18-year-old is going to have to work longer. That is not the case. The 18-year-old will work the same amount of time as a 21-year-old. They have to do a minimum of 25 years of service and be age 55 before they can retire, or up to 30 years of service. So that is the same 30 years for the 21-year-old as it is for the 18-year-old. So there is no impact to benefit structure or formula or benefits whatsoever. We do have to, we have had concern with the comptroller and making any changes to the plan regarding the hiring age, because comptroller, Tennessee Treasury requires that the pension be 60% funded before it makes any benefit enhancements. This is not considered a benefit enhancement. The Public Employee Defined Benefit Financial Security Act actually defines benefit enhancement as anything that changes the benefit structure, formula, or benefits themselves. This is no different than having a salary increase. It increases liabilities by $704, but it does not change the benefit structure whatsoever. Are there any questions or concerns regarding the pension and the impact from lowering the hiring age?
All right, yes, we do have two questions. Chairman Henderson.
So the $704, does that grow year over year?
I would say it would depend on the experience of the hiring. So if we have a lot of 18-year-olds, I would say it would increase a little bit. The projections were just for if we implemented it effective January 1st, 2024. Either way, it would be immaterial.
Okay, so it does, we can expect a firefighter that joins at 18 with 30 years' experience, we can expect him or her to have a longer retirement years.
Presumably based off life expectancy, yes, which is a $704 increase.
And so the $704 increase takes that into consideration?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess my main concern was what it looked like and how it affected the pension plan. And I know that lowering the age is kind of a three-pronged approach to trying to increase our recruitment. We sort of fixed the pay discrepancy that we had, lowering the age, and then being able to recruit down into Georgia, hopefully changing the area that we get to recruit from should help our recruitment abilities quite a bit with this three-pronged approach. And I know there's been some concerns about hiring 18-year-olds, but for me, and we know that we can't run a truck unless we have at least 3 firefighters on that truck. And I guess if I had to make a decision between not running a truck or hiring an 18-year-old, I'm hiring the 18-year-old. But I just want to make sure that we're good on the pension fund and making sure that we understand what that looks like.
Yes, sir, and I believe the city has been provided the actual study, but I'd be happy to send it along again if it's needed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Madam Vice Chair Hill, and just stay on up here, it's lit up.
Yeah. I want to drill into this $704 a little bit more. Is this $704 per pension fund participant or $704?
No, ma'am,
period?
$704 total for the entire year on a $26 million contribution.
I'm going to say that back to you. By lowering our age option to 18, it will only cost us $704 a year on a $26 million commitment to our pension fund.
Yes, ma'am.
Annually.
And this is for 2024. Obviously, that will change as experience goes, but for the 2024 evaluation, it is $704 total.
Total.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Let's see. We have Councilwoman Burrs.
Pension fund again. So, I'm pretty intimate with the pension funds.
Yes, ma'am.
And we just got the Fitch report on our bond ratings. By the way, I'm very much for what you're doing. I think lowering the age to 18 is the right thing to do. I'm 100% for that. It's a fiduciary responsibility that I have relative to the pension fund. So if I could have our chief financial officer up here. I know I saw Javid. Is he not here?
Javid.
Is he here?
Yeah.
He right there.
Got Brian.
He right here, I think.
There's Javid.
There you are. Yeah, or Brian, whoever. Because we just had this discussion.
Yes. I understand this, but the Fitch was, they were all about the 2023 numbers, about the unfunded liability. And by looking at this, which is I just looked at it right now, I don't think it's going to be that much impact by for that purpose. But Fitch has a different way of looking at things than we are.
Okay, all I'm looking at is, so help those of us that are a little slower. How does that have only a 700 and whatever impact on the total pension fund obligation? Help me understand in English. Let's talk to, ma'am, I'm sorry.
You're fine, it's
I don't know your name.
It's
Yeah.
Katrina Abbott, I'm the pension fund administrator.
Yeah.
That's probably more of an actuarial question, but they take into account the liability and the increased pension retirement. But it's very minimal compared to the number of participants that we're paying out. As for the unfunded liability, it only increases the unfunded liability by $1,199 compared to the,
Period or per person?
for the entire evaluation, that counts all participants.
So if someone starts at 18 and they only have to put in a certain number of years, could you not possibly be having more people retiring earlier and thus putting a heavier load on the pension fund? Because our pension funds are not fully funded right now.
They're not retiring earlier as in years of service, they're still doing 30 years of service. They would be expected to live longer by maybe a couple of years. They're still in the same mortality table as a 21-year-old.
So what happens is now, we've got people retiring as they should, but not as many people putting, the funds
We've
across
tipped
the
over,
country
yes.
are, this isn't just us, okay.
This
So-
would be more people paying into the pension plan.
Also, if you're front-end loaded age-wise, which hopefully we will be, I think it's a great plan. Does that not mean they'll be retiring earlier to pursue other things? And midway, there's going to be a bigger hit on the pension fund?
I don't foresee the bigger hit, no. They could be retiring earlier than, I mean, they have to wait until they're 55 or do the 30 years of service, so they'd be 48. And that's not really any different than the 21-year-old.
Okay, well, so I am totally for it. This is not a problem, except I am still a bit concerned, and I don't know who to ask the question of, is because of the Fitch report, which was on 2020. I get that. I'm aware of everything we're saying. I just want to make sure that we're not getting the pension fund out of balance. Okay?
Okay.
And one of the things was that for all kinds of reasons in our economy, and I don't need to go through that, whether, it's growth, it's job payment, it's education, it's all kinds of things that the Fitch report does. We're out of balance. And it's easily fixable. I just want to make sure this isn't putting a bigger load on the pension fund.
Not according to our
And I'm
actuary, it
hearing
is
from
not.
both of you all on the record that it doesn't. Is that correct?
According to our actuary, no ma'am, it does not increase any, the unfunded liability only goes up $1,200, which is insignificant compared to the, I think the 400 million that it is.
And our chief financial officer agrees?
I'm sorry to say this, that I can't predict what's going to happen on this pension plan because we have unfunded liability, pretty big amount right now.
That's it. It's an unfunded liability. And I mean, that's where I'm going. So, because we're growing in very big ways, Chattanooga is, and we're thinking differently and better. I'm not criticizing anything we're doing. We're going to be looking for more bonding, more growth, which we should be doing. We shouldn't be narrow. It's just that when you have unfunded liabilities and some people are taking a look at those, I just want to make sure our table is balanced. It wouldn't hurt me if you said, yes, we're going to do this and it's going to be a bigger hit. Something doesn't feel right. And so, but I'll take your word for it. And people much more intelligent than me, but I think
I do know that our city council representative, Chris Hopkins, has been meeting with different council representatives and I believe the finance office to try to find other ways to further fund and
There
increase
is
our
a city
funding.
council representative?
Yes, there has.
Oh, Chris, yeah,
Yes, from the
that's who-
pension fund, on the
I thought
board,
you
I'm
meant
sorry.
one of us.
On the board,
I
I'm
was gonna
sorry.
say, I don't think so.
Yes,
All right, so no, we met with Chris.
yes,
We met with Chris a couple days ago, as a matter of fact.
yes, ma'am.
So I'm very familiar, and know pretty much probably more than I'm saying about pensions and funding and this sort of thing. And I just want to make sure that on the record, there's been careful consideration of the impact on the pension fund and that it is not to our detriment.
Now, we have had our actuary run our numbers for the 2024 evaluation, and the impact is insignificant.
It's $700 and something dollars.
$704 for the entire year of $26 million in contributions.
Okay, and Chris agrees with all that.
Yes,
Says,
but I mean,
"Hey,
he's not here,
yeah."
so I'm not gonna put words in his mouth, but he's been part of this, yes.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilwoman Burrs. Councilman Ledford, followed by Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So quick question. I believe that 704 number is based if all cadets were 18. And that's
No, but-
important to realize?
Let me see. I'd have to go through and see how they accounted for it.
I didn't want to throw you a curveball, but
You're fine.
I dug in a little bit.
Yes, because they have not actually had the experience of trying to do a hiring age for people that don't exist. When you do an actuarial projection, it's based off people in the plan. So they were trying to account for everybody being newly hired at 18 to put them in the plan as of 1/1/24.
Which is probably unlikely.
That is unlikely.
That is unlikely, yes.
Very unlikely. So that number probably is
It's probably over.
maxed up.
inflated, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to move away from that number because I've done my homework there. So, Phil,
Yes.
we have roughly, 30 vacancies?
Roughly,
we need to
yes.
fill? And we're running full trucks, max, or we're averaging 3, 4 per apparatus?
Yeah, our minimum staffing is 3. We typically run anywhere from 3 to 4, occasionally 5, depending on their time off and that kind of stuff. But we don't drop below 3, and we don't put trucks out of service.
Okay. And this will help us substantially bring in fill the vacancies that and that's kind of, has that been historically kind of the gap that we've seen?
That is historically the gap. Several years ago, when I first took this position, our applicant pool was significantly lower. And I actually had a hard time filling an academy because I didn't have enough applicants. Now, the recruiting efforts that Damien's done since then, since we got that position, has phenomenally changed that applicant pool. So I know we're on the right track. The next step is this 18 to 21-year-old demographic that we haven't hit yet, to keep that applicant pool high, so I can fill those vacancies quicker.
Understood.
And like Mr. Henderson said, pay was a problem. Pay will continue to be a problem. We've got to work on that again next. But also the residency, like you said, a 3-pronged approach. Pay is an issue. The residency is an issue, the 18-year-old is an issue, and those are 3 ways that we can really impact boosting our hiring pool and boosting our numbers and making sure that we're filling those vacancies quickly.
Sure. And I would argue capturing interest is an
Yes.
issue and holding it. So thanks for thinking about this. So,
thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm finished. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman Ledford. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I do hear the concerns about the $704, but we spend way more than that on people walking down the sidewalks falling every year when they sue us. We pay thousands. And for anybody to sue us, that's money we give away. So I don't see that it is a problem. Even if it increased over the next years, it would be well worth the investment. But who wouldn't want to retire before 50?
Amen.
It's a good way to get our people in and start a career at an early age, our young men and women. What I've seen over the years is that we have white, younger constituents that live in the more urban core that have the opportunity at their age, 15, 16, to go be a volunteer firefighter. So don't count them out to say that they had a lack of experience because they live in Tennessee. wherever they live, they can still apply to become a firefighter in Chattanooga, and they can have more experience than some of our 25, 26 more seasoned people you would think they are and have the experience because of their age. But you got somebody that's already been volunteering their time in middle school.
And we've seen evidence of that.
Yeah, that's ready to come on board in the fight. I'm really excited. Hopefully that it will be something that we can get implemented and started. It's gonna open up the doors of opportunity for our people. And my push for it is that, I wanted to have younger Black people that have the opportunity to get in and begin to start a career, because once they start getting background challenges with our ordinances here, it prevents them certain charges from becoming a firefighter. And once they decide to get their lives together at the age of 30, 26, 27, because of their ordinance, it's hard for them to be employed, even though they would make a great firefighter. So I'm really excited about that. Damien and Alan have been doing great out in the community, trying to recruit people to get them excited to become a firefighter. So I do hear the challenges, like you said, the money is always a concern, but think about it, at the age of 18, that's not a concern. They don't even have, have kids, they still living at home. So if you get them $40,000, that's gonna be a big change, because they, don't have a job, or they've been working at fast food that's paying $12 an hour. So for them, that's something that they can be proud of, to get an entry-level salary, right? So I think, and then all the other added resources that you do have as becoming a firefighter and working 7 days a month, who wouldn't want to? They can still go to school, things. So I'm really excited about it, and hope that it's something that once it's changed, get implemented, that it'll draw people to become a firefighter locally, that we don't have to recruit. And it sounds good, because we couldn't get the people we needed, but to go outside of Tennessee and say we're gonna get Georgia and Alabama, when this here, I think, changing the age, we're gonna be able to recruit people from right here at home, that our people can look at in the community and say, you know what, he lived right next door to me, he stay around the corner from me, he doesn't live across the state line. There's somebody that we already have those built relationships with. But I know I was a thorn in your side, not just you, but Julia and everybody else too, because this is something that I was, had been working on with you guys, and I really wanted to see it to come forth. And even Chip, I got on his nerves some too, but thank you guys for listening, putting up with me. I know I can't be anal when it's about things that I want to see happen or the changes that's made, so I really appreciate you all working with me on that. I learned a lot in this process, a whole lot. Things from what I could see is like, oh, okay, we just got to talk to these people, but it was more than just talking to these two sets of union groups. It was a number of unions and so on and so forth. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Coonrod. Okay, any other comments or questions here? All right, well, we appreciate your presentation. I'm excited to be on the agenda, I believe, for next week.
Yes.
And if you have any comments or questions, council, please reach out to Chief Hyman. And thank you so much. We appreciate the presentation.
Thank you all very much.
All right. With that, 5 o'clock. All right, we will adjourn until, we will recess until 5 o'clock. All right, thank you.